Research in Realpolitiks 2. How does it work? Well, if you've played Realpolitiks 1, you'll be familiar with the project system, and if you haven't, well, let me start there. So, in Realpolitiks, we have the project system. You'll be informed when you have project slots available. It's just a very easy way to get there. Otherwise, there's also projects down here. At the bottom left, you can get to the same screen. Here we have project categories, and I will say it's a lot more complicated in this game than it was in the first game. The biggest thing to note about projects and research is that projects are research, but they are also not research. And the first category we have here, this is the epitome of that. These are ad hoc actions that you can take, which will pretty much always be temporary. You won't want to do these forever. That will give you effects. You can see the effects here by hovering over them. Hovering over the category gives you a little description as well as the cost of your action. We can see there, like, activating amnesty would cost 97 money, 97 action points, and 25 HDI up here. This is required, it won't actually get consumed, you just need to enable it. Some of these, and that's kind of what's differently indicated here, like amnesty is like this one-off thing, and then over here, these other things are maintained, so they have maintenance costs as well. Some of them in other resources, which I go over more in my economy guide, but you can see some of these help with war, some of these help with happiness, some of these help with economy. They do different things. Ad hoc is pretty general. The other categories are where you start to focus a little bit, but the categories you may be familiar with from Realpolitiks 1 have been broken up into many more. See, we have military infrastructure, military policy, army, air force, navy. This used to be like 2 categories. It's now 5, and then there's other things, military technologies, and others that are based around them. So let's talk about all of this. Well, let's start from the top, I guess. Diplomacy, this will focus on your interactions with other nations. What we have here is a mixture of things that will integrate you more into the global economy and diplomatic system. And that comes with all the effects that you can expect from that. You do have things that will make your economy worse, because a free trade economy is just simply less profitable than a closed tariff-based one. You have things that will hurt your unemployment as well. We also have things that will help us have better relations with everybody, that will unlock treaties like military access. Do you want more treaties? Well, you have to get them through here as well. And you can go different paths down this, including being a tyrant, getting access to unique diplomatic actions like ultimatum, but also getting score. You need score to win the game. Getting score as a result of your warmongery status. Then we also have like world sheriff, going like the world police America path. Friend of all. It is kind of split up in a way that makes sense. The bottom half has more to do with befriending everybody, and the top half has more to do with war in diplomacy. Whether you are the quote-unquote good guy or the bad guy in it, it lets you kind of get down there. And as you'll note, a lot of these have maintenance costs. So unlike some other things we'll look at, these are more policies. They are not really researched. You are researching things like these diplomatic actions, but because there's a maintenance cost associated, you can actually disable these once you have them. As we see here, I click on it, I can discard it, get my upkeep costs back, and then it's no longer active. And that will go through the whole project tree. If it has a maintenance cost, it can be turned off. If it doesn't, then it cannot be, but you wouldn't need to turn it off anyway. And now that I've gotten the basics out of the way, the rest is actually going to be a lot easier to explain. Spycraft is in every way similar to what I said above, except for its focus. This is instead around the effectiveness of your spies. You can unlock new spy actions on pretty much both sides. The bottom half will give you more spy slots and focuses more on defense, whereas the top half is more on the offense, and it can also be lucrative for money making as well through more illicit spycraft options, like criminal stuff. Moving down, the next 2 are unique. These right here are unique to your civilization. This is kind of new to the game. first game didn't have something quite like this, but America has their own where they get a bunch of techs that unlock unique military units that are better than the default military units, and they get to go down different paths that are not mutually exclusive, leading through to Manifest Destiny, America First, or Leader of the Free World, down to the Acceptance Pact and Pacific Defender. It's really just all of America's like modern and long-term issues and the things that make them generally military superior put on one chart that you can unlock stuff to make America feel more unique as a country in this game and give them a bunch of bonuses once you get them unlocked, that is. Because without things like this, and this was a quote-unquote problem in the first game, nations feel exactly the same no matter which one you play. And the same is still kind of true here, but this gives you some leeway to make things different. We also have a Western tree as well, which can allow you to go 2 different paths as well for different bonuses. Other than affecting, you know, economy, military capabilities, score, and other things like your HDI and whatnot, one notable thing is a lot of these, especially like Pacific Defender and Defender of the Faith, if you go down these paths, will affect your relationships with other civilizations as well, depending on which path you choose to go down. But again, a lot of these are not mutually exclusive, strangely enough. So like you can get consumerism and Christian traditions, even though they are set up to be opposites. And Christian traditions is something you wouldn't even care to turn off anyway, because it doesn't have a maintenance cost, whereas consumerism does have a maintenance cost. But those are the unique things. The rest of these, from top to bottom, except for the NGOs, they are all effectively the diplomacy spycraft things, just again, with different focuses. So financial system, for example, we have money income bonuses. We have basically ways to increase your income. You see tax level changes, things that provide score, but generally at the expense of economy for some of these, but there is a path here that can increase economy as well. Unlike the first game, this game really tries to take real issues and use it to theme these different paths. But again, a lot of them, they're just not mutually exclusive like many things were in the first game. So whether you go globalism, essentially, or laissez-faire, basically, you can just get most, if not all of these in most cases. So you don't really have to pick. They all have different bonuses, but whether you want like one or the other, you can get both. Then we have the internal security. This is a kind of weird one. The bottom half has more to do with freedoms. The top half has more to do with taking away those freedoms, but it's not that simple, right? Because the top half, this is how you get your safety, by increasing your targeted control level. The bottom half has things that used to be in different categories in the first game, like healthcare, for example. Rather than there being a category for things like healthcare, it's all here in internal security for some reason. Like, I don't know why they did that for this game, but that's what they did. Generally, anyway, you can expect the further down the path here to lower the strictness of your nation, be it for interventionism or personal control. The top half will increase those things. Basic infrastructure. This is reminiscent of a category in the first game. They basically took a lot of the things that would increase your base economy. See right here, GDP growth, well, money income in this case, but GDP growth, all this base stuff that used to lead to other things in the first game are all just sandwiched into one category here. This is generally more free as well in terms of how it works, but this also now has bonuses that will infect the environment, your population growth, your HDI especially. These, again, used to be kind of split up, leading to things that let you specialize, but they just sandwiched them all together in this game, and then made an infrastructure over here where you get the actual specializations in the infrastructure tab. Though, I will state again, no matter what you pick here, you can go down multiple paths. You can. So it's not as exclusive as the first game. You want to go down multiple paths because despite sounding themed, a lot of these are not themed. For example, wind farms, if you want to build those, the wind power plants, you might want these even if you want to go thematically a nuclear focus, because they give different benefits, they give different bonuses, and wind farms are very attractive. However, the buildings that can be unlocked up here, the central airports, the air bases, these can be very attractive, the fusion power plants as well. So look at this as a path to primarily unlock buildings, because even look, geothermal over here, solar power, this is where you start unlocking a bunch of buildings when you're building, which again, I talked about a lot in my economy guide. Speaking of economy, then we have economic focus. Do you remember in the first game how you used to be able to be an agricultural nation, a services nation, or a manufacturing nation, and that was based on your HDI, and so you want it to be like the higher the better. Generally, you move between the things like an evolution. Well, once again, that's not the case here anymore. Instead, you can go down basically all of these paths at once if you can afford the maintenance and you want the bonuses that they come with, including how they unlock buildings, how they change stats like your interventionism, your unhappiness. You can go down all of these paths and they will unlock different buildings, and maybe you want all the buildings. It is really hard to like give you a linear path in this game. I mean, heck, they even changed the stock market in this game from being a system to being a building. Everything in this game is itemized. It's not a path, even though they display it as a path, just like it was in the first game. So my recommendation is, if you want to interact with the stock markets, for example, and build your own, find that right here and go towards it. Anything before is irrelevant, so long as you're getting to the thing that you want. And this is going to get pretty repetitive, again, because these are not unique paths that are specialized like in the first game. These are a collection of itemized things where you need to do one thing to get to the next thing, just because that's how it's laid out. And the same can be said about natural environment. Generally, this is split up between, if you want the resource buildings, primarily, there's like bonuses as well, like income generalized right here. Then go the top half. If you want the buildings and the income, these can be really useful, but it affects the environment. Well, you can go down the bottom path as well, because again, not mutually exclusive anymore in this game. Can you tell that this kind of bothers me? But this can fix unhappiness, this can fix environment. In some case, this can hurt income, but if you have the buildings and the income from the top, it kind of doesn't matter, because you could just build the buildings to make up for it. In the first game, education would be where you expect to find a lot of HDI, and there is a lot of HDI affecting things here, but as you've seen when I have shown you in the earlier categories, HDI income things are very spread out now. Very, very spread out. But this used to kind of go hand in hand with like the healthcare in the first game. It doesn't anymore, as we can see. What this affects a lot of is actually research. So things that affect the implementation of new projects. For example, there's a lot of bonuses for that here. Like I believe this is one, all projects maintenance, AP cost, all projects implementation, but also buildings, such as the Science Center, the National Museum, that will unlock different bonuses as well. And if you're noticing, paying attention to these symbols as I'm showing off what they do, a lot of the ends of trees give score, which is another incentive the game gives you to honestly just get to the end of like every tree if it's affordable. Basically. I don't know why this is in paths. These really are not paths. They are not specialized or unique in any way. Ideology. This was another thing that was like an equivalent to infrastructure in the first game. But they have these different paths set up: nationalist, religious, progressive, and once again, it doesn't mean anything. You are incentivized to get as far into any of these as you possibly can. Nationalism is good if you want to be less democratic, because it kind of gives positive stats towards all the different types of control, interventionism, militarism. The top is the opposite of that, whereas the middle is kind of an in-between with a lot of varied effects that is the opposite of specialized in any way. But yeah, top part, good for democracies. Bottom part, good for militarized societies. Middle, mostly good for if you care about any of the bonuses here, like the AP cost reduction to projects, the unemployment growth reduction. All of these have their own ways of tackling unhappiness and improving happiness. So no one of them is really any better for any of those. And I know that I'm saying that a lot of these are not mutually exclusive. Some of these are mutually exclusive, like secularity right here. If you click on it, does not go with religion if you go for religion, but they both lead down the religious laws like path here. So you can go secularity and then go full theocracy at the same time. So when they are mutually exclusive, it doesn't matter because it's not the same as the first game where the modes are the exclusive things. Instead, just these little bonuses are like, would you rather have 3 HDI or some score and more happiness? Social policy is really good for control. There's some other things like bonuses here, like pro-immigration, anti-immigration to fight happiness or population, depending on what you have more of a problem with. But all of this stuff adds a lot to things like personal control and whatnot. But there's also more ways to get score and things that will affect unemployment, GDP, and unhappiness. This was so much easier to explain in the first game because, again, everything was specialized. Things that affected these things affected them a lot, whereas here it's everything's by like 1%, tiny amount here, tiny amount there. Military, this is where we get a little more cohesive, right? So military infrastructure, this is where a combination of things shows up, but these are more split up properly, like closer to the first game in a way. Again, this used to just be 2 things. Now it's 5. So it's weird, but the top is pretty much just having to do with missiles. The middle is more about building military, and the bottom is also about building it. The middle is really where you get things that make building affordable. The bottom is more about the building itself when it comes to bonuses. So you see here, money production cost reduction, AP production cost reduction versus maintenance cost reductions in the middle. Then going to military policy. This is where you start getting into bonuses for your military. And these are your grand bonuses here. This is where you can get a lot of militarism or go anti-militarism if you want to benefit your economy and happiness instead. You know, if you want to be a classic European nation for the past 20, 30 years, you go anti-militarism. If you want to be America or someone else, you go down this and start getting a bunch of, look at this, a bunch of bonuses that just benefit your entire army generally, as well as missiles, but they can come at the expense of some economy as well, give you more generals, things like that. Militarism, of course, this is really what it's more meant for. And then Army, Air Force, and Navy can all be summarized as they give bonuses to these specific parts of your military. Land units are affected by Army. Air units are affected by Air Force. Navy units are affected by Navy, and this includes naval infantry units. And then we get to physics, where this, again, like infrastructure, used to be spread out between other things. Like these are a lot of permanent technologies that just give you bonuses of score. Those scores not as important as this game as it was in the first game. You get a lot of bonuses to score by going down here. That's primarily what all this stuff is unlocking. And other things that can affect, like missiles, as we see here, unlock buildings, get you more project slots. This is more of a reflection of your actual technological development as a nation. And you are encouraged to go down these. They're actually really expensive because they are so good to get. And because they give so much score, and because you still technically need score to win, quote unquote, at the end. Military technology is also related to these. I don't know why physics like gets in the way, but it's closer to physics. It's like a military research version of it, which can come with, as we see, bonuses to a bunch of specific unit types, but also primarily just giving score. So these are also very expensive, like physics. So it's another thing you're incentivized to do. The NGOs, this is the NGO DLC from the first game, but you're forced, quote unquote, to go into a project now to unlock it, which I don't mind because I hated the NGOs. This is really all this is. You go into this if you want to interact with the NGO system. There are some bonuses here, like +1 HDI, but the rest of it after that just has to do with your interaction with NGOs. NGOs will essentially demand things of you and give you bonuses or debuffs or whatever. The more you go into this, the better you can get along with all of them. But is the +1 HDI worth it if you don't want to interact with it? I'd say probably not. Personally, I would just never go into this at all. However, it's really up to you. They basically just took a DLC and made it into a research category. And that's all the researches. As you can see, it's a lot less cohesive, a lot weirder than the first game. It's less path-based and more, here's a bunch of things for you to progressively unlock. You're gonna get basically almost everything from here to the beginning, all the way to the end of the game. So, yeah, that's research. The hardest thing will be affording all the research, but you know, that's what getting more population and taxes is for, going down the right paths first. Building buildings out here, especially the ones you're unlocking that will grant more resources of different kinds that you might need or give economic growth, for example. It is a strange system, but hopefully I have helped you understand it a little bit better today. So, thank you guys very much for watching this. I hope this guide has been helpful to you. I'll be making a couple more of these that you can find in the playlist in the description below. But for now, I'll see you guys on the next one.